All right, hello students, this is Miss Nittinger here with your Medieval Asia Vocabulary PowerPoint. Remember to get out a piece of paper and write down each of these vocabulary words. You're going to need to know them for your vocabulary quiz and your unit test. So make sure that after you copy all these words that you study them 5 minutes every day so that you're always prepared. I am going to post a Quizlet for you to help you study. Also, make sure that as we're going through this video that you pause so that you can write down the definitions correctly. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. First, we have dynasty, which is a line of rulers from the same family. Next, we have meritocracy, which were government officials are chosen by merit. And how they did that was through our next vocabulary term, which is civil service exams. It was a way to choose government officials based on merit. They would take these exams to prove that they were smart and qualified and able to work in the government. Next, we have some Chinese inventions. First, we have wood block printing, which was a Chinese printing technique. It was kind of the precursor to our printing press. Next, we have barge, which was a long boat with a flat bottom. And then we have a chain pump, which was a pump with containers attached to a loop of chain to lift water and carry it where it is wanted. Next, we have maritime, which relates to the sea. As you can tell, the sea and travel is very important to the Chinese, and we're going to get into why that is. Next, we have observatory, a building designed for observing the stars and planets, usually used for astronomy. Next, we have disease prevention. The Chinese were famous for coming up with methods to help people to avoid getting sick. We'll talk about specific examples of how they helped these disease prevention measures. Next, we have the Silk Roads, which was a trade route between Asia and Europe. As we all know from previous units, trade is extremely important, and the Silk Road is one of the most famous trade routes in the world. Next, we have typhoon, which are violent storms. Those would be an example of something that the Chinese could use for the mandate of heaven to kick out an emperor. Next, we have imperial, which means belonging or related to an emperor. Next is currency, which is the form of money used in a country. For example, in the United States, we use the US dollar. Next, we have Kublai Khan, who was a Mongol leader who took title of Emperor of China. He was the one that brought in Mongols and foreigners to run the government. Remember, the Chinese were not really allowed to be involved in the government during his time period. Now we're going to get into some Japanese vocabulary words. We have the Heian period, which was Japan's golden age, and we'll talk about what that entails. Next, we have Buddhism, which is a religion that believes life is full of pain and suffering. And then we have Shinto, which is basically the opposite of Buddhism, and it's a religion that celebrates life and beauty in nature. Next, we have samurai, which was the warrior class of medieval Japan. I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with samurais, and we're going to talk a lot about their code and their training and get into a lot of details about them. We have shogun next, which was, they were the head of the military government of Japan in the era of the samurai. And then we have the daimyo, which was a local lord in Japan in the era of the samurai. Key way to remember these two terms, because they are pretty similar. Shoguns are involved with the military, so you could think of guns and military to kind of help you remember that, and the daimyo was the local lord. Next, we have seppuku, which was a ritual suicide committed by samurai to preserve personal honor. We're going to talk about how important honor was to the samurais, and seppuku definitely plays a part in that. These are all of our vocabulary words for the entire Asia unit. Make sure that you copy all these down and that you have them in your vocabulary section of your notebook. Make sure you're studying 5 minutes a day. And if you have any questions about any of these terms, please see Miss Nittinger. Thanks for watching and copying these words, and I'll see you with the next unit.